amazed at how much they will help you to do that if they believe what you believe, right? That's sort of hiring. So that's what I
Yeah.
think we do well and don't do well.
Yeah, we mentioned that people are not really. If you tell them to come back to work, they would say, "Okay, you trusted us till now. Now you don't trust us. Of like 2 years, we've been like doing what we should do, and you got the results that you wanted, and now you're saying, you know what? No, I don't trust you anymore." And I think when we're talking about like the relationship between your employees and what you're doing, it's so tangible to see that you cannot play in the same cards that you play till now because the game has changed in that aspect, right?
Exactly. Yes. So I think a lot of good things and a lot of bad things have happened because of COVID, but I think from a work perspective, a lot of good things will eventually come out of it. I think the leaders will realize that it's really incumbent upon us to create this environment so people can make the choice, right? There are lots of people who want to come to work. They want to be around other people, right? And there are certain times where you should have them. You should be in the same room with someone, right? Either virtually. I mean, the same room is better, but if if you're international, that's fine as well. But being around other people, hanging around them at the end of the day, going to get a drink with them or have dinner, these are all things that create more of a team aspect. You see each other as human beings when you're in those situations. So I agree with you that we're those that don't realize that their hypocrisy is apparent to their team are doing it at their peril.
Yeah. And in your book, you mentioned creating a culture of psychological safety. So
Yes,
could you tell us more about that? I think it's connected to what we're talking right now because you need to
exactly.
trust and create safety that way.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a term coined by Amy Edmondson, who is a Harvard Business School professor and author. And she did research, I don't know, 20 years ago on, I think it was surgical teams. And her premise was that the teams that made the fewest mistakes were the most successful. And what she found out that the opposite was true, is that the ones who made the fewest mistakes actually were the best ones. But what she found was it wasn't that anyone made any more mistakes, it was they admitted their mistakes. And when the teams that admitted their mistakes were able to correct them, right? There was safety. They felt it, I screwed up, or I don't know what I'm doing, or can you double check that for me, or whatever it might be. Letting others see that you are human, right? We are flawed beings, humans, right? We are highly irrational, impulsive, emotional beings. And we have to understand that as leaders. And if you create that environment saying, you don't know everything, and you're not expected to, we hired you because we think you're a great fit for our culture. We share the same values. We're trying to reach the same vision or the same destination. We enjoy each other, and you have some skills that you brought to the table and knowledge, and hopefully I will help you grow those as you go. If you hire that way and treat your people that way, then they'll feel more safe. I had a great boss. I really liked him a lot, but there was one thing I didn't like. I didn't understand it at the time, but it didn't really feel right to me. And then after I studied it further, with Amy's work, etc., he used to say, "Don't come to me with a problem without a solution." And I'm like, well, for some reason I couldn't really put my finger on it. And now that I'm thinking about it, and I thought about it, it's like, well, that's not a really good idea, because then the problems are hidden.
Right.
And if I don't have a solution, then I don't bring it to you, then you won't know. Maybe you have a solution, or maybe someone else on the team has a solution. So that's sort of the opposite of psychological safety, right? Is that you'll feel like you're not good enough if you don't come with a solution to the problem. But understanding the problem, there's an adage, understanding the problem fully is half the battle, right? Is making sure you really truly understand the problem.
Yeah.
So that's
Even more.
the essence of sort of psychological safety.
Yeah. I think it's related to vulnerability, that I admit that I'm not that smart. And it's related to the organization ability to understand failures as part of what we're doing. We are not striving to fail, but this is what we're doing while we're doing stuff. And sometimes we do succeed and sometimes we fail. and it could be very small failure. It doesn't have to be like a fiasco in the business. I'm doing something and I did not succeed in doing this task or other, and I need the safety and the trust from the organization in order to see, how do I do it better next time? How do we learn from it? How do we all know what's wrong and how to relate to it in any way?
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. There's this adage that people have sort of glommed onto, which is called fail fast. I don't completely agree with that. I think you should fail smart. There are two types of decisions that I see, that two buckets that most decisions fit into: reversible and irreversible. If it's an irreversible decision, you shouldn't fail fast. You should take more time up front to, do a pre-mortem, go through all the scenarios. You can create different teams that look at things different ways, and make sure that you've talked through and done some thought experiments on the situation, so you put yourself in the best position on an irreversible decision to have it be correct. It doesn't necessarily mean it will be, but your job is to hopefully make the outcome, increase the probability that the outcome will be a good outcome. So process, I think, is much more important in decision than the outcome. But we as human beings don't do that. When people say, if you asked 100 people and said, tell me, an example of a really good decision, they will base it upon the outcome. But they might have just been lucky.
Sure.
You want to base it on the process that you put everything through in order to make the decision, right? I'm a big fan of understanding